Ghana's landmark visa policy, a step toward African integration. Welcome to the Bold African Voice, BAV. I'm Abdul Karim Kargbo, born and raised in Africa. In today's video, we are exploring a landmark moment for African integration, the announcement of Ghana's visa-free policy for all African passport holders. This bold move not only strengthens ties between African nations, but also sets the stage for a new era of regional cooperation. Stay tuned as we break down the policy's implications and what it means for Africa's future. In December 2024, Ghana's president, Nana Akufo-Addo, announced a significant policy shift. Starting in early 2025, all African passport holders will be granted visa-free entry into Ghana. This decision positions Ghana as the fifth African nation to adopt such an inclusive approach, joining Rwanda, Seychelles, the Gambia, and Benin. Historical context and policy evolution. Prior to this change, Ghana offered visa-free access to citizens of 26 African nations and provided visas on arrival for travelers from 25 others. Only visitors from 2 African countries required a visa before entering Ghana. The new policy aligns with President Akufo-Addo's commitment, made at the Africa Prosperity Dialogues in January 2024, to enhance regional integration and facilitate easier movement across the continent. Comparative analysis. Africa's visa policies. Ghana's move is part of a broader trend among African nations toward liberalizing travel restrictions. Rwanda. In 2018, Rwanda announced visa-free entry for all African citizens, aiming to boost tourism and regional cooperation. Seychelles. Since 2018, Seychelles has allowed visa-free access to all African passport holders, positioning itself as a hub for regional tourism. The Gambia. In 2019, the Gambia declared itself a visa-free zone for all African travelers, promoting itself as a destination for cultural exchange. Benin. In 2019, Benin eliminated visa requirements for African travelers, enhancing its appeal as a tourist destination. These initiatives reflect a growing recognition of the economic and cultural benefits of facilitating intra-African travel. Implications for regional integration and economic growth. The implementation of visa-free policies is expected to enhance trade and tourism. Easing travel restrictions can stimulate trade, tourism, and cultural exchange, contributing to economic growth. Strengthen diplomatic relations. Such policies can foster goodwill and strengthen diplomatic ties among African nations. Support the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA. Facilitating the free movement of people is a key component of the AfCFTA's objectives, a forward-looking approach, strengthening Africa's unity. As Ghana steps into this new phase of enhanced regional integration, it sets an important example for the continent. The policy shift reflects the growing realization that visa restrictions have long been a barrier to trade, tourism, and cultural exchange, which are essential for economic growth and unity. By promoting the free movement of African citizens, Ghana is positioning itself not only as a tourism destination, but also as a key player in the African Union's broader goals of continental unity. Africa's future economic integration. The African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, is one of the continent's most ambitious economic projects, aimed at creating a single market for goods and services across Africa. By removing barriers to mobility, including restrictive visa policies, Ghana is contributing to the realization of AfCFTA's vision. This, in turn, could pave the way for greater economic cooperation and shared prosperity across the continent. The African Union has emphasized the importance of mobility as a cornerstone of economic integration, arguing that the free movement of people is just as crucial as the free movement of goods. As Ghana joins other progressive nations in adopting visa-free policies, it's a reminder of the potential for intra-African trade to grow exponentially if movement between nations becomes more fluid. Boosting tourism and economic development. Visa-free travel could also have an immediate impact on tourism, one of Ghana's key sectors. The Ghana Tourism Authority's Beyond the Return initiative, which aims to strengthen ties with the African diaspora, has been a success story so far. By facilitating easier access, the country hopes to further increase the influx of African travelers, boosting the tourism sector creating jobs, and driving local economic development. With the recent announcement, Ghana could see a surge in regional tourism as African travelers, no longer hindered by visa requirements, may choose to visit Ghana for its cultural and historic landmarks. The tourism boost could extend to other sectors as well, including hospitality, retail, and local artisans, creating more opportunities for small businesses. Challenges to implementing a visa-free Africa. Although Ghana's move is a step forward, it underscores a wider debate about the challenges involved in opening borders across the African continent. Some of the major hurdles include security and political challenges. Security remains a top concern for many African nations. Open borders can sometimes inadvertently allow criminals and extremists to move freely across countries. Additionally, some governments may feel uneasy about surrendering too much control over border management, as each nation's security concerns are unique. The potential risks posed by the free movement of people will require innovative solutions, including better coordination between security forces and regional intelligence sharing. Without these safeguards, a more open Africa could inadvertently fuel instability in fragile states. Economic disparities and resource constraints. While free movement holds promise, it also presents challenges tied to economic inequality and resource distribution. Many African nations, including Ghana, still grapple with significant poverty and underdeveloped infrastructure. Increased migration, particularly from poorer nations to wealthier ones, could strain already limited public resources. Governments will need to ensure that local infrastructures, such as healthcare, housing, and education systems, are capable of accommodating a larger, more diverse population. Countries like Ghana may benefit from regional partnerships that support infrastructure development, but addressing these disparities will be crucial in ensuring that the free movement of people leads to shared prosperity rather than exacerbating inequalities. The paradox of intra-Africa movement and global restrictions. The decision to allow visa-free access to all African citizens in Ghana also calls attention to an important paradox. While Africa is pushing forward with visa liberalization within the continent, many African countries still face strict entry requirements when traveling outside of Africa. This discrepancy between intra-African mobility and the stringent visa requirements placed on African passport holders by foreign countries creates a sense of frustration across the continent. The African Development Bank has pointed out that, while African countries strive to open their borders to each other, African citizens are often subject to cumbersome and expensive visa processes when traveling to Europe, North America, or Asia. This paradox highlights the need for a broader approach to mobility that addresses both intra- and intercontinental challenges. African leaders, therefore, must work not only to break down internal barriers, but also to push for reforms in international visa regimes. For instance, efforts by the African Union to negotiate better visa agreements with countries outside Africa could help address this disparity and enhance the global mobility of African citizens. Diaspora engagement and Africa's global image. Ghana's visa-free policy also strengthens its relationship with the African diaspora, a crucial aspect of Ghana's international identity. The Beyond the Return initiative, which aims to reconnect with African-descended communities worldwide, will likely gain even more momentum with the ease of travel. For many in the diaspora, the ability to return to the continent without the burden of a visa is symbolic of a new era of African unity and self-determination. This is not only a boon for tourism, but also serves as an affirmation of Ghana's commitment to building stronger ties within Africa and globally. As African nations work to redefine their global image, the enhanced mobility could position the continent as a more accessible, welcoming destination for visitors, investors, and Africans abroad who wish to contribute to their countries of origin. This re-engagement with the diaspora could bring substantial investments, knowledge exchange, and cultural revival to the continent. The road ahead, a Pan-African vision. In the coming years, Ghana's groundbreaking visa-free entry for all African citizens could be viewed as a significant milestone in Africa's quest for greater unity and integration. Other African countries, particularly those in the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and the East African Community, EAC, may follow Ghana's lead, spurred on by the successes and challenges faced by early adopters. As countries continue to experiment with more open borders, there is also a need for a collective strategy that combines visa liberalization with robust infrastructure development, security cooperation, and strong political will. The vision of a united Africa, where citizens can travel freely, trade effortlessly, and cooperate without barriers, is within reach, but only if countries work together to overcome the complexities of integration and harmonize policies across the continent. Lessons from Ghana's example: a blueprint for continental mobility. Ghana's decision to grant visa-free entry to all African passport holders in 2025 provides valuable insights into how Africa's borders could be redefined in the future. The shift is more than just a symbolic gesture. It sets a clear example of how African countries can leverage visa policies to enhance both economic and cultural ties. Ghana's move underscores the potential for regional mobility to transform sectors such as trade, education, tourism, and investment. For other African nations, Ghana's implementation provides a blueprint for what is possible within the framework of the African Union's AU Agenda 2063, which aims to create a more integrated, peaceful, and prosperous Africa. The open border policy could encourage other countries to prioritize regional agreements that facilitate free movement of people, goods, and services. However, it is crucial for the continent to consider the accompanying challenges: security, infrastructure, and economic equity, and address them with long-term strategies. The role of the African Union in facilitating mobility. The African Union, AU, has been advocating for greater intracontinental mobility as part of its broader vision for economic integration. The establishment of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, was a pivotal step in this direction, aimed at creating a single market that allows the free movement of people and goods across the continent. However, achieving this vision requires more than just policy declarations. It requires collective action. Ghana's visa-free policy serves as a model for other African countries to follow, but its success also depends on the AU's ability to create a continent-wide framework that harmonizes policies and ensures that the benefits of mobility are equitably distributed. The AU can play a critical role in facilitating the standardization of travel policies across its member states, making it easier for countries to coordinate and collaborate. This could include aligning visa policies, improving border management, and addressing security concerns that often arise with the free movement of people. The implementation of a continent-wide African passport, which has been discussed within the AU for years, would further streamline travel and reduce the complexity of navigating multiple visa systems across different African nations. Economic and social impact, the potential for growth. As Ghana's decision unfolds, it is expected to have ripple effects on the continent's broader economic landscape. The free movement of people can lead to increased trade and tourism, both of which are vital to Africa's economic development. Trade barriers that were previously erected by restrictive visa policies often stifled the flow of goods and services, particularly between neighboring countries. With visa-free access, businesses and entrepreneurs can more easily engage with partners across the continent, creating new opportunities for collaboration and expanding markets for local products. Moreover, tourism is likely to benefit significantly. African travelers, who were previously discouraged by the cost and complexity of obtaining visas, may now explore different parts of the continent, enhancing cultural exchange and understanding. As tourism grows, it will fuel local economies, particularly in hospitality, transportation, and related sectors. Ghana, with its rich cultural heritage, historical landmarks, and vibrant cities, is poised to become an increasingly popular destination for regional travelers, further boosting its economy. Additionally, the policy could support educational exchanges and collaborations between African countries. Students and professionals could travel more freely to study or share knowledge, contributing to the development of human capital across the continent. This aligns with the African Union's focus on creating a knowledge-based economy and empowering the youth through education and skills development. Challenges: addressing the complexities of open borders. However, Ghana's shift to a visa-free policy does not come without challenges. While the benefits are significant, the policy also exposes underlying issues that could complicate its implementation. One of the major concerns is security. While many African nations welcome the idea of open borders, security concerns are paramount. Countries with fragile political systems or those experiencing internal conflicts may face difficulty ensuring that free movement does not lead to the exploitation of weak borders by criminals, armed groups, or extremist organizations. To address these challenges, countries must work together to improve regional security cooperation. Joint border patrols, intelligence sharing agreements, and the development of a common security framework could help mitigate the risks associated with the free movement of people. Countries like Ghana, which are setting the example, could take the lead in establishing protocols for monitoring the movement of individuals across borders while still maintaining the spirit of openness. Additionally, there is the issue of economic disparities. While visa-free policies can foster growth, they could also exacerbate the economic inequality between countries. Wealthier nations may experience an influx of migrants from poorer regions, potentially straining social services, housing, and employment opportunities. In response, countries need to ensure that local economies are capable of accommodating the additional demand for resources. This requires significant investments in infrastructure and social services to handle the expected increase in population mobility. The long-term vision, Pan-African mobility as a catalyst for unity. As Africa progresses toward realizing the dream of a united continent, policies like Ghana's visa-free entry for African citizens represent a tangible step toward greater integration and collaboration. In the long run, if more countries follow suit, this shift could pave the way for a truly borderless Africa, where the movement of people, goods, and ideas is no longer hindered by arbitrary national borders. In the coming decades, the idea of a continent-wide passport could become a reality, making it easier for African citizens to travel, live, and work across the continent. The free movement of people could serve as a catalyst for deeper political, social, and economic unity, creating a Pan-African identity that transcends national borders. This could ultimately lead to more efficient regional trade, collaborative infrastructure projects, and the sharing of resources and expertise across Africa. Moreover, a united Africa with fewer borders could redefine the continent's role on the global stage. With greater intracontinental collaboration, African nations could present a unified front in negotiations with external powers, whether for trade agreements, environmental sustainability, or addressing global challenges such as climate change and public health crises. The future of Africa's mobility. Ghana's groundbreaking decision to open its borders to all African passport holders is a bold step in realizing the vision of a united, prosperous Africa. While challenges remain, the move presents an opportunity to further integrate the continent economically, socially, and politically. By removing visa barriers, Ghana is not just facilitating easier travel, it is fostering a culture of cooperation and mutual respect that could serve as a model for other African nations. As other African countries consider adopting similar policies, it is crucial that the continent works collectively to ensure that the benefits of increased mobility are maximized while addressing the potential risks. By doing so, Africa can continue on the path toward greater unity, prosperity, and global relevance in the 21st century. The coming years will likely reveal how successful these bold moves are, and whether they can serve as a foundation for a truly connected and empowered Africa. The broader African context. Regional integration and collaboration. Ghana's visa-free policy is an important contribution to the ongoing efforts to unite Africa. For many years, the continent has faced a paradox where regional integration efforts have been impeded by nationalistic visa policies. While the African Union, AU, and regional economic communities such as the East African Community, EAC, and the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, have made strides toward fostering economic cooperation, restrictive visa regimes have often slowed down the process. By lifting visa barriers, Ghana not only accelerates economic integration, but also aligns with the broader African vision articulated in the African Union's Agenda 2063, which seeks to promote free movement across the continent. Ghana's leadership in this regard exemplifies how national policies can complement the broader goals of the AU and how individual countries can contribute to the continental project of integration. The African Union has long advocated for greater intracontinental mobility as a critical pillar of Africa's economic success. According to the AU, allowing citizens to move freely within Africa could stimulate economic growth by encouraging trade and tourism and by fostering collaborations in various sectors, from education to technology. Ghana's decision is, therefore, not an isolated event, but part of a larger and more ambitious plan for a borderless Africa. Rwanda as a role model, learning from success. Rwanda, which has been a frontrunner in the visa-free movement in Africa, offers lessons on how Ghana and other nations can benefit from similar policies. Rwanda's 2018 decision to allow all African citizens visa-free access to the country was groundbreaking. In just a few years, Rwanda has seen notable growth in both tourism and regional trade, with the country's economy benefiting from an influx of visitors and investors. Rwanda's capital, Kigali, has also emerged as a major regional hub for meetings, conferences, and diplomatic events, boosting the country's global profile. Similarly, the African Union's flagship initiative, the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, mirrors Rwanda's approach by seeking to eliminate barriers to trade and foster collaboration among African nations. Ghana's shift to visa-free access will likely create ripple effects, encouraging other countries to follow Rwanda's lead, thereby making the vision of a fully integrated continent more achievable. African youth, empowering the next generation. Another crucial aspect of Ghana's new visa policy is its potential impact on the African youth. The African continent is home to the world's youngest population, with a large proportion of young people seeking better opportunities for education, employment, and entrepreneurship. Free movement could empower these young Africans to explore job opportunities, study abroad, and engage in business ventures across the continent without being hindered by visa requirements. Educational exchanges, internships, and cross-border collaborations are likely to increase, allowing young people to access new perspectives, skills, and knowledge. This could result in the development of a new generation of African leaders who are not only more connected to the continent, but also more attuned to its challenges and opportunities. These youth-led collaborations and knowledge-sharing initiatives could transform Africa's workforce as a more mobile and skilled population is better equipped to drive the continent's growth. Furthermore, easier access to other African countries could also help entrepreneurs reach new markets, form regional partnerships, and create networks that will benefit them in a more interconnected African economy. As the next generation of innovators takes advantage of these opportunities, Africa's youth could emerge as the driving force behind the continent's future growth. Looking beyond Ghana, challenges in implementation. While Ghana's decision is commendable, the implementation of such policies on a larger scale across Africa remains fraught with challenges. Not every country on the continent is economically equipped or politically willing to adopt open border policies. Issues such as security concerns, political instability, and inadequate infrastructure could make it difficult for some countries to ease visa restrictions as Ghana has done. The successful implementation of Ghana's policy will depend on how well it is managed at the national level and how neighboring countries react to the shift. One of the potential challenges for Ghana will be balancing the interests of its citizens with those of incoming travelers. Ghana will need to ensure that its domestic infrastructure, such as its health services, education, housing, and employment sectors, can handle an increase in population due to visa-free movement. Additionally, Ghana will need to monitor the socio-economic impact of this policy, ensuring that migration does not lead to unwanted strain on local communities or resources. Other African countries will face their own set of challenges if they choose to adopt similar policies. For instance, countries with large informal economies may be concerned that open borders could lead to a rise in undocumented labor, putting additional pressure on their economies. Similarly, nations facing political or ethnic unrest may find it difficult to ensure the safety of travelers moving freely across their borders. The role of the private sector and civil society. The private sector and civil society also have an important role to play in ensuring the success of Ghana's visa-free policy and similar policies across Africa. The business community can be instrumental in supporting regional integration by investing in infrastructure, creating jobs, and facilitating trade between countries. It can also help address some of the challenges associated with open borders, such as the need for secure and efficient transportation and communication networks. Civil society organizations, especially those focused on human rights and migrant issues, can advocate for the protection of travelers and migrants as they move across the continent. With increased mobility, there may be a need for enhanced safeguards to ensure that African citizens are not exploited or abused as they travel. These organizations could also help educate citizens about the benefits and responsibilities associated with the new visa policies, fostering a sense of unity and cooperation among African nations. International partnerships and global recognition. As Africa's borders continue to open up, international partnerships and global recognition will become increasingly important. Ghana's decision could draw positive attention from foreign investors and international organizations who will view the country as a more attractive and accessible destination for business and development initiatives. The new visa policy could improve Ghana's international standing as a progressive and forward-thinking country. In this context, partnerships with global organizations such as the United Nations, the World Bank, and the African Development Bank will be crucial for securing funding and technical assistance to ensure that open borders lead to sustainable development. Moreover, Ghana's policy could provide leverage in negotiations with other countries outside Africa to enhance the mobility of Africans globally. If the continent's visa-free initiatives are recognized and respected internationally, African passport holders may gain easier access to markets and opportunities outside of Africa, closing the gap in global mobility for African citizens. Continued progress toward Pan-African unity. In conclusion, Ghana's move to allow visa-free entry for all African passport holders is a significant milestone in the journey toward greater African unity. As the first in a series of countries expected to follow suit, Ghana is helping to shape the future of an interconnected Africa, where the free movement of people will be a cornerstone of economic and cultural development. As we look ahead, the success of this policy will depend on how other African nations respond, and how well Ghana, along with its regional partners, addresses the challenges that come with it. The road to full intra-African mobility is long, but with strong leadership, collaboration, and a shared commitment to the ideals of unity and prosperity, Africa's borders may one day be a thing of the past, replaced by a vision of a truly united continent. The path toward a unified African economic bloc. As Ghana leads the charge toward visa-free travel, the continent's focus will inevitably shift toward economic integration. Economic cooperation through regional trade agreements like the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, will become more effective with the facilitation of easier movement between countries. Visa-free access is an essential piece of the puzzle for the AfCFTA to work seamlessly. The free movement of people enhances trade by enabling more efficient transportation of goods and services across borders, while also boosting tourism, cultural exchange, and investments. Countries that follow Ghana's lead in eliminating visa requirements for African citizens may experience significant boosts in their economic activities. Increased trade between neighboring countries can result in expanded markets for businesses, while improved access to workforces could lead to the formation of cross-border partnerships. Companies will be able to source products more easily and tap into diverse labor pools, while workers and entrepreneurs can engage in new business ventures without the limitations posed by visa restrictions. Ghana's strategy could spur a domino effect, pushing other African governments to consider similar measures in order to keep pace with the growing economic collaboration taking place within the continent. Regional cooperation, the role of African economic communities. While Ghana's decision will have far-reaching consequences, much of the success will depend on how it aligns with the efforts of regional economic communities, RECs, like ECOWAS, SADC, and the EAC. These blocs have already made strides toward enhancing regional integration, and the adoption of visa-free policies could strengthen those efforts. For example, ECOWAS already facilitates free movement of people among its member states, though full implementation remains uneven across the region. Ghana's move could be an impetus for other ECOWAS countries to adopt similar policies, creating a more cohesive economic environment within West Africa. Similarly, the East African Community, EAC, and the Southern African Development Community, SADC, have also shown increasing momentum toward facilitating cross-border movement. While some of these regional blocs have made strides with visa-free or visa-on-arrival policies, the success of Ghana's initiative will serve as a reminder of the benefits of true open borders. As countries within these blocs begin to harmonize their visa policies, the continent could eventually reach a state where regional economic cooperation becomes far more seamless, leading to greater stability and growth. Visa-free movement and African tourism, a new era. One of the most immediate impacts of Ghana's new visa policy will likely be on African tourism. As the country becomes more accessible to other Africans, the tourism industry is expected to flourish. Ghana, with its rich cultural heritage, historic landmarks, and natural beauty, stands to become a central hub for regional tourism. Cities such as Accra and Kumasi, which are already popular destinations, could see an influx of visitors from neighboring countries, further solidifying Ghana's status as a key player in Africa's tourism sector. With the removal of visa barriers, Africans from other regions will likely explore destinations they would not have considered previously due to visa costs and complexity. Ghana's government has already made significant investments in promoting tourism through initiatives like Beyond the Return, which aims to connect with the African diaspora. This new visa-free policy complements these initiatives, enabling a broader audience of African travelers to experience the country's attractions, culture, and history. Moreover, neighboring countries such as Côte d'Ivoire, Togo, and Burkina Faso may see an increase in visitors traveling to Ghana for business, leisure, or cultural exchange. Tourism will not only contribute to local economies by boosting hospitality, transportation, and retail sectors, but it will also foster a deeper cultural understanding among Africans. Rural development and regional benefits. Visa-free travel doesn't just benefit the urban centers like Accra or Kigali, it also holds tremendous potential for rural areas. As African travelers gain easier access to countries they may not have visited before, the benefits of tourism can trickle down to smaller towns and villages. Rural areas, which often have significant cultural, historical, and ecological importance, could see an uptick in tourists, providing opportunities for local businesses, tour operators, and artisans to thrive. For instance, the Volta region of Ghana, known for its scenic beauty and rich cultural heritage, could become a key destination for African travelers. Farmers and local craftsmen could see increased demand for their products, while small businesses that cater to tourists, such as guest houses, transport services, and local markets, could expand. By promoting regional tourism, Ghana is also enabling the development of rural economies, providing opportunities that could help alleviate poverty and create jobs in areas that are often overlooked in national development plans. In addition to tourism, there are also opportunities for regional partnerships in areas like agriculture, energy, and technology. Farmers from one country could share best practices with their counterparts in another, and tech startups could form cross-border collaborations to leverage talent and innovation from across the continent. The visa-free policy thus has the potential to serve as a catalyst for broad-based development, benefiting rural communities as well as urban ones. Expanding the African diaspora's role. As Ghana embraces a more open border policy, one of the most profound impacts will be on the African diaspora. The African diaspora represents millions of people who have roots in Africa but live abroad. Ghana has long been a focal point for the diaspora, especially with the Year of Return campaign in 2019, which marked 400 years since the first enslaved Africans arrived in the Americas. The policy of visa-free entry for African passport holders could deepen these ties by making it easier for the diaspora to visit their ancestral homes or invest in their countries of origin. In addition, many diaspora members are already active in sectors such as business, education, and technology, and the policy may encourage them to engage even more with the continent. They may be inspired to return or invest in African enterprises, leveraging their experience and resources to contribute to Africa's development. By promoting easier access, Ghana is fostering a more dynamic and vibrant relationship with its diaspora, one that will likely benefit the country's economy and society in the long term. Sustainability and environmental considerations. As Africa moves toward greater integration, sustainability must also be a key consideration. The opening of borders for increased travel, trade, and tourism may bring economic growth, but it also presents environmental challenges. Increased movement of people could lead to more strain on natural resources, such as water, energy, and land, as well as contribute to pollution and waste. To ensure that the benefits of free movement do not come at the cost of Africa's environmental sustainability, there will need to be concerted efforts to promote sustainable tourism, green business practices, and environmental conservation. For instance, Ghana could partner with other African nations to create policies that balance tourism with environmental protection. Tourism boards can work together to promote ecotourism, a type of travel that emphasizes responsible exploration of natural and cultural heritage while minimizing the negative impact on the environment. Countries can also explore regional solutions to address environmental challenges, such as shared water resources, conservation efforts, and energy-efficient infrastructure. The need for continued dialogue and policy innovation. Ghana's move to allow visa-free entry for all African passport holders is a bold and necessary step in the effort to unite the continent. However, the journey does not end with one country's policy shift. For Africa to truly achieve free movement, other nations must be willing to collaborate, learn from each other's experiences, and adopt policies that will drive the continent toward greater unity and prosperity. To make this vision a reality, continued dialogue among African governments is crucial. National leaders must be willing to work together to create policies that will further ease intracontinental travel and ensure that the benefits of this openness reach all corners of the continent. At the same time, policies should be constantly reassessed and adjusted to address emerging challenges and changing dynamics within the continent. With a shared commitment to integration, innovation, and sustainable growth, the vision of a united and borderless Africa could become a tangible reality. As Ghana leads the way in this transformation, its experience could serve as a model for other African countries striving to break down barriers and create a more connected, prosperous continent for future generations. Harnessing technology for regional integration. As Africa embraces a future of greater mobility, technology will play a pivotal role in facilitating smoother and more secure travel across borders. The continent has seen rapid advancements in mobile technology, digital payment systems, and e-commerce, all of which can enhance regional integration. For instance, the adoption of digital platforms for visa processing, cross-border trade, and even border security management could significantly streamline the flow of people and goods across African nations. The implementation of a unified digital identity system across African countries could further support the ease of travel. Ghana's move to a visa-free policy aligns with the broader trend of digitization, which is already transforming sectors such as banking, health, and education. If combined with improved regional digital infrastructure, these technologies can reduce bottlenecks at borders, enable efficient customs processing, and ensure the secure movement of people. Digital systems could also track travelers' movements in real time, ensuring that security concerns are addressed while maintaining the free flow of people. The growth of e-commerce in Africa has already demonstrated the immense potential for cross-border trade. With visa-free policies encouraging more movement, African businesses will likely see increased opportunities to expand regionally. Entrepreneurs and small business owners will have greater access to new markets and consumer bases, while large corporations could tap into a more connected workforce. The success of platforms such as mobile money and trade apps can further strengthen Africa's economic networks, helping to bridge gaps that previously existed due to visa restrictions. Security concerns, balancing openness with safety. While the removal of visa requirements presents clear economic benefits, security remains a top concern in discussions around open borders. Free movement across borders, if not carefully managed, can lead to an influx of migrants from conflict-ridden regions, which could strain social systems or exacerbate security risks. Criminal networks, terrorist groups, and human traffickers could exploit open borders to cross into countries with weak border enforcement. In response to these concerns, African nations must strengthen regional security frameworks to ensure that the benefits of mobility do not come at the cost of instability. Ghana's visa-free policy can be supported by enhanced cooperation between law enforcement agencies across the continent. Joint security operations, intelligence sharing mechanisms, and coordinated policies on border management are crucial to ensuring that the movement of people does not contribute to the spread of insecurity. Regional security organizations, such as the African Standby Force and the African Union Mechanism for Police Cooperation, AfriPol, can also provide resources and expertise to help countries better manage the complexities of open borders. Ghana's leadership in this area will likely encourage other African nations to invest in regional security collaboration, ensuring that the free movement of citizens remains a secure and positive force for development. Social and cultural exchange, bridging divides. Visa-free travel has the potential to bridge cultural divides across Africa, allowing citizens of different countries to experience each other's customs, traditions, and ways of life. In a continent as diverse as Africa, cultural exchange is essential for promoting understanding, tolerance, and solidarity. By facilitating greater mobility, Ghana's policy will encourage people to explore different regions of the continent, creating opportunities for cultural dialogue and collaboration. African art, music, literature, and cuisine could benefit from increased interregional exchange, leading to the sharing of ideas and the blending of diverse traditions. Events such as cultural festivals, film screenings, and music performances can draw crowds from across Africa, fostering Pan-African solidarity and showcasing the richness of the continent's cultural heritage. As Africans move freely within the continent, they will likely gain a deeper appreciation for their shared history and heritage, strengthening the sense of a collective African identity. Moreover, regional cooperation in education and research can lead to breakthroughs in areas such as healthcare, environmental conservation, and technology. Universities, research institutions, and educational networks across Africa can collaborate more easily, leading to innovations that address common challenges such as climate change, disease control, and sustainable development. Business and trade, fostering regional economies. Ghana's visa-free policy also holds immense potential for boosting Africa's intracontinental trade. Africa remains one of the least integrated regions in the world when it comes to trade, with intercontinental trade accounting for just 16% of total African trade. By removing visa barriers, countries like Ghana are helping to reduce one of the key obstacles to trade, restricted mobility. The success of initiatives like the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, is heavily reliant on the free movement of goods and services across borders. With the ability to move freely across the continent, businesses will be able to access new markets, connect with regional suppliers, and forge partnerships that were previously hindered by restrictive visa policies. Entrepreneurs, small business owners, and multinational companies stand to benefit from expanded access to labor, resources, and markets. The ability to tap into Africa's vast consumer base will be a game changer for businesses operating in Ghana and other countries adopting similar visa-free policies. This move could unlock new growth opportunities, stimulate cross-border investments, and promote economic cooperation among African countries that were once seen as isolated markets. Ghana's decision sets the stage for a broader continental transformation, where regional economic integration becomes the foundation of sustainable growth and development across Africa. The African diaspora and investment opportunities. A major driver of Africa's growth in the coming decades will be the involvement of the African diaspora. With millions of Africans living abroad, the diaspora represents a crucial link between Africa and the rest of the world. Ghana's visa-free policy will make it easier for members of the diaspora to return to their home countries, reconnect with their roots, and invest in the continent's future. Ghana has long been a popular destination for diaspora members, particularly with the Beyond the Return initiative, which encouraged descendants of enslaved Africans to reconnect with their heritage. By eliminating visa barriers, the country is providing an even more accessible opportunity for Africans abroad to return and contribute to the country's development. The economic contributions of the diaspora, whether in the form of remittances, investments, or knowledge transfer, will be vital in accelerating Africa's development, and visa-free travel will facilitate this process. In addition to strengthening economic ties with the diaspora, Ghana's move will also encourage African investors to explore opportunities across the continent. The ability to travel freely across borders can lead to the creation of cross-border partnerships and regional networks of investment, helping to unlock the potential of key sectors such as renewable energy, agriculture, and infrastructure. A new vision for Africa's future. In conclusion, Ghana's landmark decision to allow visa-free entry for all African passport holders marks a transformative moment in the quest for African unity and economic integration. As the country takes the lead, it demonstrates the immense potential of a borderless Africa, where citizens are free to move, trade, and collaborate with one another. For other African nations, Ghana's example offers a powerful blueprint for how visa-free policies can drive economic growth, cultural exchange, and regional cooperation. However, the success of such policies depends on addressing the challenges of security, infrastructure, and economic equity. As African nations work together to overcome these challenges, the continent can look forward to a future where the free movement of people leads to a more prosperous, united, and resilient Africa. As more African countries adopt similar policies, the vision of a truly integrated and borderless continent becomes increasingly achievable. Ghana's bold move is just the beginning of what could be a revolutionary shift in how Africa connects with itself and the rest of the world. The future of African integration is one of endless possibilities, and with continued collaboration and innovation, Africa's borders may one day become a thing of the past, ushering in an era of boundless opportunity for all its people. A continental shift, encouraging Pan-African mobility. As the success of Ghana's visa-free policy unfolds, there is growing anticipation that other African nations will follow suit. The momentum generated by this policy could spark a continent-wide transformation in how Africans view borders and travel. It's not just about easing travel restrictions, it's about fostering a Pan-African identity that goes beyond national boundaries. If more countries open their doors to African citizens without the burden of visas, it will further enhance the idea of one Africa, united in its pursuit of shared prosperity, peace, and development. Countries across the continent must recognize that opening borders and facilitating the free movement of people is not a threat to sovereignty, but a chance to reinforce African unity and encourage economic self-sufficiency. This shift requires a cultural change in how African governments and their citizens perceive neighboring countries, not as distant territories, but as part of a larger, interconnected African family. Such a shift could lead to stronger diplomatic ties, easier trade, and more robust partnerships across all sectors. In addition, a broader continental policy of open borders could potentially combat some of the prevailing negative stereotypes about migration. By demonstrating that free movement of people across Africa leads to mutual benefit and strengthens economies, African nations could become leaders in global discussions about the future of migration. This could provide a counter-narrative to the often hostile rhetoric towards migrants in other parts of the world, presenting Africa as a continent that is embracing its diverse people and focusing on solutions that benefit all its citizens. The role of African leaders, political will, and collective action. For Ghana's visa-free initiative to truly take root, it will need strong political will across the continent. African leaders must recognize that the open borders policy is not only an opportunity for economic growth, but also a chance to unite the continent politically. Regional integration requires collective action, and African leaders must be willing to work together toward the common goal of achieving a borderless Africa. Leaders who understand the long-term benefits of regional cooperation, whether through trade, tourism, security, or cultural exchange, will be instrumental in driving the continent forward. As seen in the cases of Ghana, Rwanda, Seychelles, Benin, and the Gambia, countries that have embraced free movement policies have demonstrated the transformative effects on their economies, tourism sectors, and diplomatic relations. These nations set a precedent for others to follow, creating a positive feedback loop that promotes regional unity. However, for such policies to have lasting effects, they must be supported by the right infrastructure, resources, and political systems. African leaders must address key areas such as trade facilitation, harmonization of regulations, and the creation of regional governance mechanisms that can manage the complexities of free movement. This requires genuine collaboration, regular dialogue, and mutual respect for the sovereignty of all nations involved. Leaders should also invest in capacity building, ensuring that both governments and private sectors are prepared to fully leverage the benefits of regional integration. Strengthening infrastructure for greater mobility. While political will and policies are critical, the successful implementation of visa-free travel also depends on the strengthening of Africa's infrastructure. As the free movement of people increases, countries will need to invest heavily in border infrastructure, transportation networks, and communication systems to accommodate the growing flow of travelers. Efficient transportation is a fundamental aspect of regional integration. Ghana, along with other African nations, must continue to develop and modernize its road, rail, air, and maritime networks to ensure smooth and efficient movement across borders. This includes upgrading airports, creating seamless customs processes, and ensuring that travel is affordable and accessible. If travel becomes difficult or expensive, the benefits of visa-free policies could be undermined, as people will be unable to take full advantage of the opportunities created by these policies. Additionally, improving intra-Africa trade corridors and transport systems will play a major role in fostering greater economic exchange. For instance, better cross-border roads and railways can facilitate the transport of goods, lowering the cost of trade and allowing products to flow freely from one country to another. Investment in infrastructure will not only benefit tourism, but will also promote industrial growth, as easier access to neighboring markets will allow businesses to scale and expand their reach. Harnessing the potential of Africa's youth. The young population of Africa, considered the youngest in the world, represents a significant opportunity for regional integration and economic growth. By 2050, it is estimated that the African workforce will grow to 1.1 billion people, many of whom will be seeking education, work, and entrepreneurial opportunities across borders. The ability for young Africans to travel freely, without the hindrance of visa requirements, will open up a world of possibilities for education, training, and career development. With better mobility, African youth will be able to attend schools, universities, and vocational training institutions across the continent, gaining diverse knowledge, skills, and experiences. This mobility can also foster cross-border collaborations in research and innovation, which are crucial for solving common challenges such as climate change, health crises, and sustainable development. The diaspora, too, represents a key component of Africa's future workforce. By encouraging the diaspora to return home or invest in Africa, the continent can tap into a highly educated and experienced pool of talent that has long been separated by immigration barriers. These young Africans, once removed from their countries of origin, could bring innovative ideas, technology, and business acumen to their home countries, contributing to the continent's growth and development. The role of the private sector and civil society in supporting mobility. As governments make strides toward visa-free travel, the private sector and civil society will play a crucial role in supporting these efforts. The private sector, particularly in industries such as tourism, transportation, and technology, stands to gain significantly from the reduction of travel barriers. Businesses will be able to tap into new markets, access a more diverse labor pool, and create new opportunities for cross-border collaborations. For example, technology firms could work across borders to create digital platforms that support trade, education, and health services, enhancing the efficiency of regional networks. Moreover, civil society organizations that work with migrants and refugees will be integral in ensuring that free movement policies are inclusive and fair. These organizations can advocate for the protection of travelers' rights, ensuring that they are not subjected to discrimination or exploitation as they move across borders. Additionally, these groups can help educate the public about the benefits of free movement and foster a spirit of cooperation and mutual respect among African citizens. The involvement of the private sector and civil society will ensure that the benefits of free movement are distributed equitably and that African nations can fully capitalize on the opportunities for development that arise from increased mobility. A Pan-African vision for sustainable development. Ultimately, Ghana's decision to eliminate visa requirements for all African passport holders signals a vision for a united, integrated, and prosperous Africa. This vision is aligned with the goals of the African Union and other regional organizations, which seek to promote unity and sustainable development across the continent. As more African nations adopt similar policies, the continent will move closer to achieving its full economic, political, and social potential. While challenges remain, the lessons from Ghana's experience can be used to address the obstacles that may arise. A collective approach to addressing issues such as security, infrastructure, and economic equity will ensure that the continent benefits from the free movement of people while safeguarding the well-being of its citizens. If successful, Africa's transformation into a continent where its people are free to move, trade, and collaborate without barriers will be a defining achievement of the 21st century, setting a precedent for the world to follow. As the vision for a united Africa gains momentum, the benefits will extend far beyond economic growth. By fostering stronger cultural ties, improving regional cooperation, and enabling the free exchange of ideas, the continent will become a beacon of progress, resilience, and opportunity for future generations. The journey toward a borderless Africa has just begun, but the road ahead is full of promise and potential. Building on success, the African Union's role in promoting free movement. As Ghana's decision to offer visa-free entry for all African passport holders continues to gain momentum, the African Union, AU, must play a vital role in shaping and sustaining this progress. While Ghana's bold move represents a significant step, it cannot be an isolated effort. The African Union, as the continental body responsible for advancing the unity and integration of African countries, has the responsibility to promote a coherent continent-wide framework for free movement. The AU's efforts in creating the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, offer a roadmap for further economic integration, but the free movement of people is equally crucial. For many African nations, the concept of open borders may seem daunting, but it is necessary for realizing the continent's full potential. The AU can act as a facilitator, bringing together governments, businesses, and other stakeholders to build common policies that promote the free flow of people, goods, and services. Additionally, the AU can help to standardize travel documents, ensuring that passports and visas are compatible across the continent, reducing friction for travelers and making it easier for countries to adopt similar policies. The AU's work in creating a continent-wide regulatory framework will be vital in ensuring that Africa's interconnectedness isn't undermined by differing national policies. Leveraging Africa's natural resources, strengthening Pan-African cooperation. A key component of a united Africa is leveraging the continent's natural resources for mutual benefit. Africa is rich in natural resources, from oil and gas to minerals, timber, and agricultural products. However, these resources have often been exploited without generating lasting benefits for the African people. The integration of African markets through free movement and regional trade policies is a crucial step toward ensuring that the benefits of these resources stay within the continent. By improving intra-African trade, the continent can begin to move away from its reliance on outside markets and focus on creating a sustainable economy that utilizes its own resources. For example, Ghana's newfound openness could facilitate easier cross-border trade of agricultural products, minerals, and energy resources, reducing the need for Africa to rely on imports from other continents. This can also promote self-sufficiency in key sectors such as food production, energy, and manufacturing. Moreover, resource-rich countries like Ghana can collaborate with neighboring nations to invest in infrastructure that supports the extraction, transportation, and processing of raw materials. Regional partnerships can help build processing plants, energy grids, and transportation networks that serve multiple countries, making it easier to export finished products instead of just raw materials. This creates added value, promotes job creation, and helps diversify Africa's economies. Empowering African women and youth through mobility. As the free movement of people becomes a reality, it is important to ensure that marginalized groups, particularly women and youth, are empowered by this shift. Visa-free travel has the potential to transform the opportunities available to young Africans, particularly women, who often face barriers to education, work, and entrepreneurial ventures due to restrictive visa policies. In many African countries, young women have historically had limited opportunities for mobility, with cultural and societal norms often restricting their ability to travel for work, study, or business. However, with the advent of policies like Ghana's, women will be able to travel freely, pursue higher education across borders, access broader employment markets, and participate in cross-border business ventures. For youth, the ability to move freely opens doors to learning experiences and entrepreneurial opportunities. Students from one country could attend schools or universities in another country, gaining new skills, knowledge, and perspectives that will be beneficial not only to their personal development, but also to the development of their home countries. With access to new markets and business ideas, young entrepreneurs will be able to launch regional businesses, tap into wider consumer bases, and create a more innovative economy. The role of technology in facilitating cross-border mobility technology will play a crucial role in enhancing the movement of people across African borders. With the increasing reliance on digital platforms and mobile applications, technology can reduce the friction often caused by visa and travel bureaucracy. Africa is home to some of the most innovative tech hubs in the world, particularly in countries like Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa. Leveraging these innovations can streamline cross-border travel, trade, and communication. For instance, digital IDs and blockchain technology could be used to manage and verify identities, reducing the need for physical documentation while ensuring security and transparency. The establishment of a unified digital travel system for African citizens could make border crossings more efficient, allowing travelers to move freely without lengthy immigration processes. Furthermore, digital tools and platforms can also facilitate regional cooperation in various sectors. For example, online platforms could enable businesses to network and form partnerships with counterparts in neighboring countries, creating cross-border business opportunities without the need for physical travel. Similarly, digital healthcare networks could allow doctors and specialists across the continent to collaborate, providing better healthcare solutions for remote communities. Challenges and opportunities for strengthening the continental movement. Despite the clear benefits, the journey towards a truly borderless Africa will not be without its challenges. As African nations move toward visa-free policies, it will be crucial to address the complexities that arise with the free movement of people, goods, and services. There will be concerns about security, immigration control, and the economic impacts of increased migration. African countries must work together to develop common frameworks and guidelines that address these concerns while promoting the broader goal of integration. One of the major challenges is ensuring that migration does not place undue pressure on local economies, particularly those already struggling with poverty or unemployment. As more people move across borders, there will be an increased demand for housing, healthcare, and social services. Governments will need to invest in these services and infrastructure to ensure that local communities are not negatively impacted by the influx of people from neighboring countries. Additionally, there will be the need for robust policies that prevent human trafficking, illegal immigration, and the exploitation of vulnerable populations. While free movement offers enormous potential, the safety and well-being of African citizens must be prioritized. Regional security cooperation will be key in managing the risks associated with increased mobility, ensuring that the movement of people remains safe, lawful, and beneficial for all. The road ahead, a collaborative future for Africa. As Africa moves toward greater integration, the successes of countries like Ghana serve as a beacon for others to follow. The decision to allow visa-free access for all African passport holders is a significant achievement, but it is just the beginning. To fully realize the dream of a united, interconnected Africa, the continent must continue to build on these policies and invest in the infrastructure, systems, and partnerships needed to support free movement. African nations must work together to overcome the challenges of free movement and regional integration. This will require concerted efforts in diplomacy, security cooperation, economic planning, and infrastructure development. The vision for a borderless Africa is an ambitious one, but it is one that is achievable if African governments and citizens continue to collaborate toward the common goal of unity, prosperity, and peace. As more countries join Ghana in opening their borders, the benefits of regional cooperation will become increasingly evident. Africa stands at a crossroads, a continent poised for transformation, with its people, resources, and opportunities ready to be fully realized. The journey toward a more integrated, borderless Africa may be long, but it holds tremendous potential for future generations. In the coming years, Africa has the opportunity to emerge as a global leader in economic and social integration. The policies of visa-free travel, regional trade cooperation, and enhanced cultural exchange are just the beginning of what could become one of the most exciting chapters in the continent's history. With continued leadership, collaboration, and commitment, Africa can chart its own course toward a prosperous and unified future. Regional cooperation, the role of African economic blocs in facilitating free movement. As Ghana's decision to grant visa-free access to all African passport holders begins to take shape, regional economic blocs such as the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, the East African Community, EAC, and the Southern African Development Community, SADC, will play a critical role in driving the integration process forward. These regional groupings have made significant strides toward promoting economic cooperation, but the removal of visa restrictions will bring a new dimension to their collaboration. In particular, ECOWAS has long been a leader in regional integration within Africa. Its free movement protocol, which allows citizens of member states to travel, live, and work in other member states, is already a model for other regional organizations. Ghana's move to eliminate visa requirements for African citizens will only strengthen the region's commitment to economic integration. As countries within ECOWAS continue to work together to streamline border policies, trade, and investment, Ghana's decision could act as a catalyst for other West African nations to follow suit. Similarly, the East African Community, EAC, which has already made strides toward integration with free movement agreements between Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania, may find itself further motivated to enhance its efforts. The ability to move freely across borders is a critical element of EAC's vision of a unified regional market. If countries like South Sudan and Burundi, which are not yet fully integrated into the region, open their borders in line with Ghana's example, East Africa could become one of the most dynamic economic regions on the continent. For Southern Africa, the Southern African Development Community, SADC, presents both opportunities and challenges. While the region has made progress in reducing trade barriers, the movement of people remains limited. With Ghana's landmark decision, SADC countries could be encouraged to look at the benefits of liberalizing their visa policies and opening borders for free movement. Strengthening intra-SADC cooperation on trade, infrastructure development, and security could help lay the foundation for the region to reap the benefits of greater mobility and integration. The global implications of a unified Africa. The implications of Africa's movement toward more open borders extend beyond the continent itself. As Africa embraces greater integration, it will strengthen its position on the global stage, influencing international trade, investment, and diplomatic relations. A unified Africa, where people can move freely and economies can collaborate seamlessly, will become an increasingly attractive destination for global investors, tourists, and entrepreneurs. By removing visa barriers, Africa signals to the world that it is committed to modernizing its economies, enhancing political stability, and fostering stronger regional cooperation. This shift could encourage international organizations, governments, and businesses to engage more deeply with the continent, resulting in increased foreign direct investment, FDI, and trade agreements that benefit African countries. As African nations collaborate on regional integration, they may also begin to present a more unified front in international forums such as the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, and the African Union. With a shared vision of greater unity and self-determination, African nations can leverage their collective influence to negotiate better terms in global agreements, advocate for sustainable development goals, and push for reforms that benefit the continent. Moreover, a more integrated Africa can serve as a model for other regions facing similar challenges. As Europe, North America, and Asia navigate the complexities of immigration and free movement, the African experience could offer valuable lessons in fostering cooperation, addressing security concerns, and maximizing the economic and cultural benefits of regional integration. Addressing the challenges of open borders, security, and migration management. While the vision of a unified Africa with open borders is inspiring, it is not without its challenges. One of the foremost concerns about visa-free movement is the issue of security. As borders become more permeable, the risk of human trafficking, cross-border crime, and the spread of violent extremism also increases. Managing migration flows will require robust security measures to ensure that the benefits of free movement are not undermined by insecurity. African countries must therefore invest in improving their border security infrastructure, ensuring that they are equipped to handle the challenges of increased mobility. This could include implementing advanced biometric systems, enhancing intelligence sharing, and coordinating security efforts through regional and continental organizations. The African Standby Force, ASF, and the African Union Mechanism for Police Cooperation, AFRIPOL, could be key players in strengthening cross-border security and addressing the potential risks associated with open borders. In addition, there must be a concerted effort to manage migration flows and ensure that citizens moving across borders do so legally and safely. While free movement offers opportunities, it must not be exploited by traffickers, organized crime groups, or terrorist organizations. African governments, in collaboration with international partners, must work together to create comprehensive migration management strategies that prioritize human rights while protecting citizens from exploitation. Building sustainable infrastructure for a borderless Africa. As visa-free travel becomes a reality, the need for improved infrastructure to accommodate increased movement across borders will become paramount. To facilitate the free flow of people, goods, and services, African countries will need to invest in transportation systems, border facilities, and digital infrastructure. This will include modernizing airports, seaports, and land borders to handle the increased traffic and ensure smooth passage for travelers. Rail and road networks will also be crucial for creating efficient trade routes and promoting regional economic integration. Cross-border rail and road systems could help connect key economic hubs, facilitating the movement of goods and people between neighboring countries. Additionally, expanding access to high-speed internet and mobile technology will enable Africans to communicate and transact across borders more easily, further supporting the vision of a connected continent. The African Development Bank, AfDB, and other regional financing institutions will play a key role in supporting infrastructure development. By providing funding and technical expertise, these institutions can help African countries build the physical and digital infrastructure necessary for regional integration and mobility. Moreover, public-private partnerships could be essential for driving investment in infrastructure projects that support free movement and economic cooperation, promoting education and knowledge exchange across Africa. A key benefit of the free movement of people is the potential for greater educational exchanges across the continent. As young Africans are able to travel more freely, they will have access to a wider range of educational opportunities, from primary school to university-level education and vocational training. African students will be able to study at institutions across the continent, gaining diverse perspectives and skills that are essential for driving innovation and development. Additionally, the free movement of people will enable academic institutions to collaborate more easily, fostering a spirit of Pan-African knowledge exchange. Universities, research centers, and technology hubs could form networks that span the continent, sharing expertise, research findings, and technological innovations that contribute to Africa's sustainable development. Moreover, these educational exchanges could empower young Africans to become leaders and entrepreneurs who understand the unique challenges and opportunities facing their continent. With increased access to higher education and cross-border training, Africa's youth will be better equipped to tackle pressing issues such as climate change, healthcare, poverty, and political instability. The promise of a united Africa, a call to action. As Ghana leads the way in opening its borders to all African passport holders, the rest of the continent must take note. The promise of a united, integrated Africa, where citizens are free to move, trade, and cooperate without borders, is within reach. However, achieving this vision requires collective effort, strategic planning, and a commitment to addressing the challenges that arise with open borders. African leaders must continue to work together, harmonizing policies, improving security, and building the necessary infrastructure to support regional integration. The free movement of people will only be sustainable if it is accompanied by efforts to foster economic cooperation, cultural exchange, and educational opportunities. The road ahead may be long, but the potential for a borderless Africa, where African nations work together as one, united by a common vision of prosperity, is a powerful motivator. If Africa continues to push forward with bold initiatives, it will become a global leader in regional integration and economic development, setting an example for other continents to follow. The time to build a united, integrated Africa is now, and the possibilities for future generations are limitless. Moving forward, ensuring sustainable development and unity. As Africa moves toward greater regional integration, it must also prioritize sustainable development to ensure that the benefits of open borders do not come at the cost of environmental, social, and economic well-being. The need for a balanced approach, one that fosters economic growth while protecting natural resources, cannot be overstated. The development of green technologies, sustainable industries, and eco-friendly infrastructure will be crucial for safeguarding Africa's future. Governments must ensure that the free movement of people and goods is complemented by investments in sustainable sectors, such as renewable energy, ecotourism, and conservation efforts. Africa's vast biodiversity is one of its most valuable assets, and preserving it for future generations will require concerted efforts to balance development with environmental stewardship. In addition, Africa's agricultural sector must also embrace sustainability, with regional cooperation aimed at increasing food security, reducing post-harvest losses, and promoting climate-resilient farming practices. By ensuring that Africa's growth is sustainable, the continent can achieve both economic prosperity and environmental protection, making it a leader in the global push toward sustainability. Advice to African leaders: embrace unity, invest in future generations. For African leaders, the message is clear. The future of Africa depends on unity, collaboration, and forward-thinking leadership. The vision of a united, integrated continent, where borders do not hinder the movement of people and ideas, requires a strong commitment to regional cooperation and mutual respect. Leaders must prioritize policies that foster inclusivity and equitable development. They should focus on creating an environment where all citizens, regardless of their background or country of origin, can thrive. Investment in education, technology, and infrastructure will be essential for creating the foundation upon which future generations can build a prosperous, integrated Africa. Moreover, African leaders should lead by example in promoting peace and stability. By investing in conflict resolution, addressing human rights concerns, and supporting good governance, they will ensure that the continent can fully capitalize on the benefits of open borders and free movement. Africa's future cannot be built on division and strife. It must be rooted in solidarity and collaboration. Summary of key messages. The decision by Ghana to grant visa-free access to all African passport holders marks a historic step toward greater regional integration and cooperation. This move aligns with the African Union's vision of a unified, borderless Africa and sets a powerful example for other countries to follow. Africa's future lies in its ability to unite economically, politically, and socially. The free movement of people will foster trade, tourism, cultural exchange, and educational collaboration, leading to more vibrant economies and stronger ties between African nations. However, to make this vision a reality, leaders must invest in infrastructure, security, and sustainable development, ensuring that all citizens benefit from the opportunities created by open borders. Africa's youth, women, and entrepreneurs will play a crucial role in driving this transformation. With the freedom to move, learn, and collaborate across borders, they will become the catalysts for the continent's growth and development. By embracing technology, fostering education, and supporting regional trade, Africa can unlock its full potential. In conclusion, the path toward a united Africa is long but achievable. Through bold leadership, regional cooperation, and a commitment to sustainable development, African nations can build a future where the continent is no longer held back by borders, but instead propelled forward by unity, collaboration, and shared prosperity. African leaders must take the steps now to build a better integrated future for all Africans. The opportunity is there. The time to act is now. Thank you for watching. If you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Bold African Voice, BAV, for more thought-provoking content on Africa's current affairs and future opportunities. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts on Ghana's visa-free policy. How do you think it will impact the African continent? And as always, click the notification bell to stay updated on our latest videos. Until next time, keep believing in the power of unity and progress across Africa.